You might be familiar with the acronym MGTOW. It's an acronym that means men going their own way. The reasoning behind it is that men have come to the conclusion that it is not worth their time to look for a lady to marry. And that it is preferable to simply go your own way and spend one's life in any manner the individual chooses. At first blush, it doesn't appear to be all that absurd. A great number of women claim that they are coming to the same conclusion regarding men. That being in a committed relationship with a single man over the course of many years isn't worth it, and that they are better off being single. They might be right, but I can't say for sure because I don't have all the information. My opinion is that there is no correct response to this question and that the choice should be made on an individual basis. On the other hand, based on what I've observed, when looking at a now banned subreddit named r/MGTOW, guys who identify as MGTOW spend a significant amount of time contemplating how much they despise women. The fact that some of them posted images of hikes they had been on while concentrating on themselves was a positive aspect of the situation. However, there was a significant amount of sexism, and the implication that women are con artists and that it is to a man's advantage to not have a wife or girlfriend was prevalent throughout the content. I will argue that there are some women's subreddits that aren't any better than others, for example, r/female dating strategy, but that is a topic for a very different discussion. Some portions of the dark web and certain subreddits are, to put it bluntly, cesspools. I believe that the reason for the existence of these areas is that the internet gives people with extreme viewpoints the opportunity to congregate with other socially isolated people who also hold the same ideas. This kind of thing simply did not exist in any meaningful way 30 years ago. In a public setting, if you started spouting strange shite like that, people would most likely tell you to pull your head in. And it was much more difficult to discover folks who shared your views. MGTOW is one of those ideas that, when taken at its word, sounds sensible but, in practice, is not what it looks to be. Let's assume. However, this is the literal interpretation of what it means. Choosing to travel your own path. If that is what you intend to accomplish, it is fantastic. The same advice applies to ladies who are interested in the same field. But is it for someone like me? To tell you the truth, I've never had a lover in my 34 years on this planet. I'm a heterosexual autistic male. It would be extremely simple for me to conclude that fucking relationships, if women don't want me, then I'm simply going to forget about dating women and concentrate on myself. Screw relationships, if women don't want me, then I'll just forget about dating women. And to be perfectly honest, a portion of me does feel that way. On the other hand, it would be dishonest of me to say that I have no interest in having a genuine love relationship at some point in my life. I still do, albeit I realize I need to be ready for the potential that it won't come to pass. I have stated in the past that I will just concentrate on myself and just go about living my life, and if it happens, then it happens, and if it doesn't happen, then it doesn't happen. So what you're describing isn't really MGTOW, rather, it's something else. I'm not sure what you name it. I guess you could call it focused on yourself. Perhaps some room for personal development. Self-improvement, on the other hand, is a fairly broad term that can refer to a variety of different activities. I think it's important to make an effort to better oneself, but I also think that obsessing about self-improvement for its own sake may become pretty tedious. I think it's important to zero in on what you're passionate about and devote your time and energy there. And as a man, dating advice tips would include things like working on your career, having a stable job, working on your health and fitness, dressing well, being well groomed, finding interesting things to talk about that interest you, knowing what you want, working on your body language, and knowing how to read other people's body language. Additionally, dating advice tips would include knowing how to read other people's body language. Things of that nature. My hunch is that it would be different for women, but there would still be some parallels. I have taken all of this into consideration, but I still can't promise that I will find someone to talk to. It's possible that I will, but I can't promise it. Everything about this is an exercise in learning. One last thing I want to say about MGTOW and the manosphere is that men who blame women for the fact that women don't want them seem to miss the fact that if all women don't want you, then it's probably not women that are the problem. And in general, there is nothing you can do to change other people, or at least there is no way you can force other people to change. However, you can always concentrate on improving yourself. Obviously, it is up to you to decide what to do with the knowledge you have been given. If you want to go down the rabbit hole of the MGTOW philosophy, people who are serious about the MGTOW philosophy believe that our society is fundamentally biased towards women. And they believe in not only avoiding relationships with women but also paying as few taxes as possible so that the government can't use those taxes to support single mothers and women in general. It would appear that the first level of the MGTOW is to avoid entering into long-term partnerships with females. Avoiding partnerships that are just meant to be temporary is the goal of level 2. My description of level 3 was basically included in the previous paragraph. You shouldn't make more money than you need to because the higher your income, the higher the amount of tax you'll have to pay. According to level 4 MGTOW, you are expected to completely withdraw from society, whatever that phrase even implies. Indeed, it's in a fairly bad state right now. As I've mentioned before, I do not wish to subscribe to the MGTOW concept. The one aspect of MGTOW that I do agree with is that a man should not determine his worth based on whether or not he has a wife or girlfriend. This is something that can be difficult to do when society reminds us all the time that it's something we need to have. And yes, my approach is to not actively avoid romantic connections, but also not to devote all of my efforts toward the achievement of that objective. Instead, I focus on bettering myself, and I tell myself, if it happens, and if it doesn't, then it doesn't. Boom.